Tamarjit Singh Desi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and my gratitude also to the Shadow Treasury and Education teams for bringing this important debate to the House. Undoubtedly, one of the biggest challenges our nation faces is supporting the millions of children and young adults studying across the country following the devastating impact of the past year. So I am hugely disappointed that once again government has ignored the experts and offered less than 10% of what the government's own Educational Recovery Commissioner, Sir Kevin Collins, has called for. Frankly, it's insulting to the teachers, parents, school staff and early years providers who have ensured children in Slough and beyond could access education throughout one of the most disruptive periods that they have ever seen. Without their tenacity, determination and commitment to wanting the very best for our future generations, our children would not have received the care, support and education they needed over the past year. And they achieved this all after a decade of government neglect, which delivered the largest cuts to school funding in 40 years. Just last year, Slough head teachers wrote to me to say that they had, and I quote, become increasingly disillusioned by a persistent lack of effective and credible leadership emanating from the Department for Education. And sadly, with this so-called catch-up plan, the DFE has continued this trend, with funding that covers less than £1 per day that children were out of school and a tutoring programme that reaches just 1% of pupils. And it seems the Prime Minister and Chancellor have blocked much-needed funds initially asked for, letting down an entire generation. Do they think it makes economic sense to not invest in our children? Mr. Deputy Speaker, Labour's fully costed plan would deliver exactly what parents and teachers have been calling for: a well-rounded catch-up plan including mental health support, drama, sports and book clubs, continued development for teachers and an extension of free school meals over holidays. And this provision would be targeted with an education recovery premium to ensure those who face the greatest disruption are given additional support. What's worse, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is that this Tory government knows the consequences of the inadequate support they have offered. As Sir Kevin Collins noted in his resignation letter, and I quote, "This settlement will define the international standing of England's education system for years to come." And this is consolidated by reports from the Institute for Fiscal Studies showing that if students had lost an average of 6 months of schooling, they could see a reduction in their lifetime income of 4%. So why won't ministers stop treating children as an afterthought in our recovery and prioritise children's well-being, education and life chances? Inaction now will fail generation for decades to come. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.